What's up everybody, my name is Jonathan, aka KleinGuy Jon. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to wire up a GFCI in your kitchen. Alright, so that's all coming up right after this. Today, I'm going to show you how to wire a GFCI receptacle. Whether it's a 15 amp or a 20 amp, the wiring method is still the same. And the purpose of a GFCI, if you're wondering, is to protect from electrical shock. So today I'm going to show you guys how to start off wiring it. All right, let's get to it. All right, so the tools that you're going to need are a player alignment pliers. Another tool is the side cutting pliers. Next, we have the short needle nose. Next tool you're also going to need is a screwdriver or all-in-one. And last but not least, you're going to need a multimeter. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to have to shut off the GFCI. We have to shut the circuit off. Right now, currently the circuit is on, so we want to work safe. Always remember to shut the power off before you proceed on anything else you do on an outlet, a switch, or also a light fixture. So we're going to go to the breaker and I'm going to shut it off. Okay, so now my GFCI is just de-energized from the circuit breaker. Now if you're working in a commercial building, you want to make sure when you shut off the breaker, you want to lock out and tag out the circuit. Especially if you're if you're an apprentice and you like working residential, and you have people or other trades in the on the job site, make sure you lock out and tag out the panel. Okay, lock the panel. If it has a lock or key lock or a key lock, you take the key, lock the panel, and you can work safely. This will prevent from anyone going into the panel and energizing the wrong circuit breaker. Because if that happens and you're on the other end of this line and someone turns on the breaker, you might just injure yourself or get killed. So first thing we're going to do is there's going to be these two set screws on this cover plate. So what you want to do first is you want to remove those two set screws. I'm going to use a 3/16 head, okay? And we're going to take off these flathead screws. You can purchase this at Home Depot. But since this is a ratchet, I'm going to use the ratchet feature. Let's go back to that. We're going to take off the screws. Alright. Make sure when you're working on taking off the cover plate, you leave it closest to the outlet box or the receptacle. Make sure you keep the screws in place as well. What I like to do is I like to put the screws back right onto the screw holes. You know, you leave it on the floor, it get kicked around, or if you leave it on a counter, someone will just smooch it over and then you'll lose it somewhere between the counters. So you want to put the screws back onto the device. You don't want to lose the screws, okay? We're going to remove now the screws, the 632 screws that are holding the device. Now these 632 screws are holding this device onto a mud ring inside the wall that holds the device, and as you can see, there's a lot of space. This is like double sheetrock behind the device within the wall. There's double sheetrock here. So typically in commercial applications, what you do is you put a plastic extension collar or a metal extension collar, because you don't want to have a lot of spacing where if something was to spark, this could be flammable, or whatever paint or chemical could be seeping in there could catch fire and damage property. So what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the screws, 632 screws, and I like going from the bottom up. Okay, so we're going to take the screws out. I'm going to take the top one as well. There we go. And you're going to carefully take out the device and the wires, and as you can see, as I pull it out, you're going to see that this device you can see that where it's wired from. So right here, where this red and white is, now the red is my feed, the white is my return or the neutral. Power is coming into the device and is returning back to the panel. Take off the wire nut, and you always want to start, actually in reality things, when working with power off, you want to actually start backwards. So as you can see, there's no ground. There's a ground terminal here, but there's no ground wire. That's fine. There's a ground, some of these GFCIs also come with ground tabs. So if you see a ground tab and you don't see a ground wire, that's perfectly fine. We're going to start, instead of working from ground, neutral, and hot, we want to work in reverse. Anytime you're working on a de-energized circuit, such as this GFCI, you always want to work with the mentality that it's live. Always work and think that you're working live. Electricians like myself, we always go through that. So what you want to do is start from your hot and your neutral, then your ground. But in this case, we're going to just start from disconnecting the hot and the neutral first. So I'm going to take my Phillips and basically just detach it. So once it stops, as you can see, the wire is in pretty good condition. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. You want to check for nicks. Make sure the wire's not nicked. You don't want to have shorts and the nuisance tripping and so forth. So this wire is good. So what you want to do is you want to move the wire away from you. Next thing is, now we have the neutral. Now as you see, it's spliced. There's a little pigtail here that's spliced. What we could do is unsplice the neutral. Unsplice this pigtail. So I'm going to just be careful. Now we removed the GFCI. What you want to do is, if you're going to put a new one in, you want to take out the wire, little pigtail wire here, and we're going to replace the GFCI. For education purposes, right, let's just pretend this is the new GFCI. We're going to reuse it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work in another way, like as if we were working live. As I told you before, you're going to reverse. You're going to disconnect the wires in reverse from hot to neutral to ground. Well, now if you have a 3-wire hot, neutral, and ground, you want to work with. Now you're going to want to work the other way, the opposite: ground, neutral, then hot. But in this case, we're going to work with neutral, then hot. Now take my pliers, and basically we're going to want to just reconnect the pigtail. Now these wires are pretty short. I'm not too sure why they did it this way, but whoever worked on it didn't really think about pulling in more wire. Okay, so now there's the wire there. I'm going to strip this off, cut this pigtail off. Alright, straighten out the wire a little bit. And strip this there. And now here's a little trick. Now if you twisted these two wires, you splice them together, you take the pliers and you kind of make a little zigzag. Like you bend it around like this slightly at like a 40 or 35 or 30 degree angle. Then you go to the next point, bend it. Then you go to the halfway to the tip of the wire. You go halfway and you sort of bend it like a little zigzag. Okay? This actually helps, and I've done this many times. Doing it this way actually does help the wire nut bite into this wire. So in other words, I can put this wire here. Let's see, we want to make a 90 as well. So you want to make a little 90 like that. Take the wire, right? Just like that. I got my wire nut. And then you can just turn it. It will really grab onto the wire. It will grab the wire, it bites into it. If you want to, as you can see, I'm tugging on the wire, it's not coming out, right? So you want to slightly bend the wire in a little bit. And now we're going to reconnect the GFCI. Now you're going to start now, instead of the hot to neutral, you're going to wire it now neutral to hot. Oh, okay guys, sorry about that. My audio microphone died. But I'll put batteries in, so let's move on. So what I did, right after the batteries died, I didn't realize I actually connected a ground wire. And as you can see here, I connected a ground and I terminated it into the box. So basically, that's a ground pigtail. It's a piece of green wire. Basically, what it is like a piece of wire. One end is stripped with some copper, and the other end has like a screw, a green ground screw, and it looks just like exactly like this. So this is the green ground screw it's attached to, and it's looped around it. And what I did was I terminated into the back of the threaded screw inside the box. So now it's going to be properly grounded. I'm not saying it wasn't properly grounded before. It was, but just for demonstration purposes, I put a ground pigtail and tied it to the back, bonded it to the box. So now that I have all the wires terminated, what I'm going to do next is just make sure that my connections are tight. Alright, so everything's nice and tight. What I'm going to do next now is I'm going to get this electrical tape and we're going to wrap around it twice. So I'm going to take this end and wrap around, covering the terminals. Okay, you don't want these terminals exposed the way they are, so just wrap around twice. And what I do is I'm going to cut it. And now since I have the wires bent in an accordion-like manner, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually tuck them a little bit to the side. There's space on the side, inside, you can see I'm putting my finger in there. There's space on the sides there. So what I want to do is I want to try to tuck in as much as possible to the wires to the side. Because what's going to happen is once I set my screws to fasten this in, and we tuck the wires to the side, we want to leave space and room for the set screws, for the mounting screws to pass through. Because what's going on is that the mounting screws in the mud ring, they're facing down inside the box. Meaning, what I mean by that is once I screw in the screws, they're inserting in the box where the wires are placed. So if I did not move these wires and they were just in the way of the screw, I could possibly nick the wire with the screw and cause a short. So as I'm doing this, I'm pushing away the hot, tucking a little bit away the hot and the neutral. The ground, not so much. The ground won't be energized. Basically, the ground, if I nick the ground, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to short anything out. It's basically your screws are going to be still grounded. They're going to be bonded to the metal. So let's push these in. I'm now going to take my screwdriver, get that ready. And also what I like to do is when I push it in, the device in, I kind of like to put my fingers like this to let it set so the wires can stay in their bending formation. Once that happens, I let go and the device sticks out about 1/4 inch. So now I can set my set screws back in. I just gotta find the mounting screw holes and make sure it's catching. It should be catching now. There we go. And once I got it, and once I got the screw catching the screw hole, and it catches, I'm gonna now put the next screw in and screw it on. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. Screw it on. Make sure the tabs are touching at least the surface of the sheetrock. I don't want that wobbling is not that great. So what I do is I push down the device a little bit, and I want the bottom 2 tabs here to touch the sheetrock, at least to catch onto it. So you want it a bit flush, the sheetrock. So now it's not moving. See, I'm trying to move it, it's not moving anymore. Next part now is to put the face plate, or finish plate, or cover plate, however you like to call it. We call it a finish plate. Put the solid screws in. I'm going to start with the top of the screw. And what you want to do is when you screw these in, you're going to start feeling the GFI kind of pull out a little bit. And that's fine. It's supposed to sort of stick out. what I like to do is I like to use the Unbreakable cover plates, because if you over tighten on the harder cover plates, if you over tighten the screw, you could crack it. With the Unbreakable one, they sort of like bend in a little bit. Now that we got the cover plate on, let's put on this, turn back the circuit. Alright, so now the GFCI is back on. Let's wire it up. And if you want to confirm you're getting 120 volts, I'm going to take the multimeter, switches the voltage. You want to make sure you're getting 120. And now, remember, when you're putting the multimeter on, you don't want to switch it to AC, not DC, AC. Alright? I'm gonna put my neutral, I'm sorry, put the black probe here, in the hot. Plugged in. And now as you can see, I have 121.1 volts, 120 volts in. If you want to see if your device is grounded while it's live, if it's properly grounded, what you can do is you take your positive lead, put it into the hot slot, the line voltage slot, and then you take your negative lead, your black lead, and you put it on the metal screw, and you get 120. That's how you know you can make sure that your devices are properly grounded. If you don't get 120, you're probably not properly grounded. It's properly grounded, and now you know how to wire your very own GFCI. So there you have it, guys. Now you know how to wire a GFCI, and you can even wire a standard receptacle outlet. When you're working on electrical in your own home, you want to call an electrical contractor. Make sure they're insured and they're bonded. Now, if you are competent, trained, and qualified, go right ahead. You have the training, you know the know-how, you know the safety protocols, then you should know that you should never work live, even in your own home or on the job site. But as always, in these videos that I do not take responsibility of any damage that may happen to your own home if you follow this video. I am not responsible for damage or injury. If you decide to work on your electrical without any training or anyone inspecting your electrical in your own home, any licensed professional, you are at risk, and I am not responsible. So, just so you know. In any case, always remember to work safe, shut the power off, and if you're not comfortable, like as before, call an electrical if you're not comfortable working on an electrical, call a licensed electrical contractor. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell notification for all videos. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Always remember to wear your personal protective equipment, watch each other's back, help one another out. I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.
You like that video? Why don't you smash that like button down below? Also, if you got any questions, leave a comment down below. If you want to see some tool reviews, tool demonstrations, or even some job site tag-alongs, then what are you waiting for? Subscribe! Till next time, guys. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you on the next one.